Hi guys, and welcome back to Creative Pet Keeping. My name is Kasia. I am your host. And before we get started, before anyone asks any questions, yes, I tried to dye my hair a different color, kind of brown, lighter brownish, blondish, I don't know. Ended up kind of making it really dark in the roots, and then the rest became kind of another version. I don't know what's going on my head. We're experimenting, so just let it be. Let it be. Except that I am weird colors of hair at the moment. But besides that little tiny tangent, today is going to be a very highly requested video where I talk to you about my thoughts and experiences. Whoa, what was that? Jeez, okay. My thoughts and experiences and just feelings about betta breeding as a whole based on my experience. Now, I've only bred one spawn so far, so I can't really be like, I have experienced all the betta breeding experiences, but I think I have, you know, gotten through this and it turned out pretty well. So I figured, hey, let's talk about the good and the bad kind of roughly. It's not really a planned scripted video, so if I ramble a little bit, sorry about that. But I tried to break it down into, at least in my head, I thought about it before filming this video, that I will talk about mostly two main topics, and that will be about the cost of betta breeding, and then also about the time that it takes. And then of course, if you have any further questions that you would like to make for me to make future videos about, and in more depth, I can do that as well. So overall, I am really happy that I did decide to breed my two bettas. I think it was a really awesome and really educational experience. I got to experience a different side of bettas that I never did because I used to always keep bettas as pets. So I always was kind of exposed to that side, and breeding bettas has forced me to learn a lot more about bettas that I didn't necessarily need to know as a pet owner, such as learning about form, getting better at telling genders apart, learning more about different tail types and color forms and all that stuff, which, while I didn't really need back before, I think it kind of makes me see betta keeping kind of differently, in a whole new light, and it is pretty cool. I see bettas a lot differently, and I notice things that I haven't noticed before, and I hope that some of you guys will be able to do that as well, because you have been able to experience the entire breeding process and the process of raising fry, from little tiny eggs to adulthood, well, juveniles, I guess, because they're almost adults right now. By watching the entire journey. For those of you that are new, I do have an entire playlist. It is the betta breeding playlist that you can check out and watch all of the videos and kind of get caught up on the entire thing. I've tried to kind of organize that in there. So I'm lots of wavage happening with my arms. Ooh, I don't know what I'm doing. So let's talk about the amount of money that went into this project. Oh man. When people say it's expensive to breed bettas, they're serious. It's expensive to breed bettas. I don't even want to calculate everything. I've been putting it off. I don't know if I will, because I don't want to know how much I've spent on this spawn. I think if I do, I'm gonna get super depressed. There's a lot of things I could have bought for myself, or you know, for the house, or spent in other ways, and I spent it on fish. So it definitely, if you want to breed bettas, your wallet must be ready. You must have a little bit of money saved up. There are a lot of costs that initially, when you think about breeding bettas, you don't think about. A lot of the times you're like, well, I need 2 fish, you know, a breeding tank, a little bit, you know, a grow out tank, food, maybe like a brine shrimp hatchery, a heater, and a filter, and I'm good. But there's a lot of other things. There's different types of foods, there's different materials, how many spawning tanks, I mean, how many grow out tanks will you need? Can you get Tupperware tubs that are large? Can you get large enough tanks to provide the fish the size? And then you need jars. What kind of jars will you get? Will you get glass jars? Will you get those plastic ones? And if you do, you have to get a bunch of them. And then there's what else can you, oh, there's packing materials. So if you're going to be shipping your fish, you need materials to pack the fish and label the stickers and get the fish bags. And there's a lot of things that you don't think about originally. And I had a rough idea, a pretty good idea when I started out, because I did do a lot of research, so I kind of knew roughly what I was going to need. But, you know, when it comes to these things, as prepared as you can get, there's always going to be things that come up or things that change. I did experiment with some stuff, so there was some money that was used in like making that one tub that I made where I put all the cups and had had a filter hooked up to it and a heater, so I can filter multiple fish in cups at once. So that was that experiment that I did. So just be prepared to spend a lot of money on your fish, okay? If you're ready for that and you can do it, then that's, you know, one thing out of the way. The second big thing that I got from the breeding experience, besides all the knowledge that I started to gain through having to research, is the fact that betta breeding requires a lot of work. It is something you have to dedicate your time to. Not only will for the first 2-3 months, the baby bettas are very dependent on you. So you need to be there for them, feed them very often. Going on vacations is very hard because finding someone that can take care of such young fry is difficult because they're very sensitive and they need a lot of special care, which is a lot more difficult than a older established tank with adult fish. With my other tanks, I can go away for a week and not do a water change for a week and not feed the fish for a week, and they will be completely fine. With the bettas, with the babies, that was not an option. I had to do very frequent water changes. At the beginning, I was doing water changes every single day, and this was a really slow process because I had to very slowly, carefully siphon the water out to make sure I don't siphon the fry, and then I had to very slowly drip the water in so that not to shock the fry. I had to make sure that the water had prime and conditioner, was aged, had aquarium salt in it, the temperature was matching the temperature in the tank so that, you know, I don't shock the fish. And then I had to feed the fish very frequently. I had to feed them about 3 times a day. So let's say if I was going somewhere for a couple hours or I was gone most of the day, I had to find someone that was going to feed the fry, because fry do need to be fed more often than adult fish. Their metabolisms are a lot faster, they're growing, they need more food more often. So that was a time commitment. And then you'd think, okay, you know, I can get through the first few months and then it's going to be a lot easier. Well, it is, I guess, for some people. There are experienced, you know, betta breeders that kind of figured out a system for themselves. They're a lot more efficient and they can manage breeding. You know, they could do multiple spawns and take care of multiple fish, and, you know, they figured something out to make it work, so it's a little easier for them. In my case, you know, if you're a beginner, you're gonna be doing a lot of trial and error, even if you have other examples to follow. You know, fish are individual living animals. Things are always not gonna work exactly the same way for everyone else, so even though you have different examples that you can follow from other breeders, you'll still kind of have to figure out your own little system and what will work for you. So when the fish become bigger, there's that phase where you can kind of slow down on the water changes and do them every few days, in my opinion. In the grow out tank, it depends how many fish you have in your tank. So if it's a very crowded grow out tank, one option is, you know, buy a larger tank, but if you can't, then you're still stuck with very frequent water changes regardless. And then when you do have to jar, oh boy, that's a whole new world, because then all of a sudden you have a bunch of jars that you have to do water changes for every day. To maybe if you have a larger jar, you can do every other day or maybe every 2 days, but mostly, like for the size jars I had to do water changes every single day, and I hate doing water changes so much. I prefer having a tank that, you know, is understocked, so I have more plants, more live plants, good filtration, not that many fish, so I can normally go a week or a week and a half without a water change and everything is all beautiful and dandy in there, nothing, you know, is bothered and the fish are happy. But in this case, like fry tanks, constant water changes, you know, betta jars, constant water changes. And with the betta jars came another problem, and that was unstable temperature. So I live in an uninsulated attic, which is why, hence the weird ceiling that makes no sense right here. and these paper thin walls. So while it is fairly hot here all the time, which sucks for me because I'm always constantly dying, it's so hot, the bettas actually enjoyed the heat quite a bit, but the temperature does drop a bit at night. So it's not huge drops, but you know, the temperature is fluctuating. Now a filter would make up for, not a filter, a heater would make up for that and would keep the temperature stable, which is more ideal for a betta. But in my case, I didn't really have any flex water or any sort of system figured out, and I didn't want to get any right now. I want to get some for my next spawn as I kind of plan out a new system and kind of figure out what I'm going to do. But in this case, I was like, you know what, I'll see if I can get away with it. And I feel like I did, barely. I'm feeling a little pressed for time in regards to selling my fish now. I know that there are a few koi available, and those, you know, everyone wants the koi, so I don't worry about those being sold. And also the cellophanes should be able to find homes easily, but I also have a bunch of metallics that are in aqua and purple and bluish colors, and I think they're really lovely and very pretty fish, but they're also very difficult to photograph. So while they look really beautiful in person, especially if you shine a light directly on them, they don't look that great on camera. It's really hard to capture their beauty. So I have noticed that those have a harder time being sold. I did already sell a couple, but I do have a backup plan of selling a few to my local fish store. I have a really cool fish store that's family owned near me, and I think I'll sell those few because soon it's gonna start to get cold here, and I need to sell all of my fry, at least all the males, before it starts getting cold here, because I don't want the fish to deal with large fluctuating temperatures. Now some of the fry that are mostly females are in the grow tank. I'm not worried about those because they could stay in there for a little longer. I have a filter and a heater there, so things are great. As long as I keep on the water changes, things will be going great. But that is something you think about. I guess I'll do a bonus thing, because I was going to talk about money and the amount of work involved. The other thing you got to think about is, what are you going to do to sell your fish? Now, I am fortunate that I have all of you guys as my audience, so it's a little easier for me to sell fish because I already have a lot of people that could potentially be interested in getting a betta, and that has made it tremendously easier for me than I would say for a beginner. I was also fortunate that I had a really small spawn. If I had more fish, I would have a problem. Like, I have a hard time. At one point I had pretty much 29 jars, and I had to do water changes on 29 jars every single day, which drove me insane. Imagine if it was 50 or 60 or 100 jars. Imagine if you had to do that. You know, that's crazy. And then you have to sell all those fish. And then some spawns can be like 300 fish. So, you know, you have a couple choices. You can either cull a lot, so heavily cull your fish, and, you know, just keep the best of the best, so you only sell a couple fish, but then you have a high kill rate of your fish, which, I mean, some people do. I wouldn't like to do that, but, you know, that's what other people, you know, do. Then the other option is, you know, sell online or sell to a local fish store or try to go to some sort of convention. Online, there's a lot of different options. There's aquabid.com, there's eBay, you can sell through Facebook, you could sell through Instagram, you could sell through YouTube. You could do it how I'm doing it via patreon.com, and as well as my website creativepetkeeping.com. And even if you find people to buy your fish, another problem that arises is now you have to ship and pack a ton of fish. So I've been selling a few fish at a time. Luckily, the total is not that many overall. But if you care about your fish, you're going to have to take the time to pack every fish, and that's very time consuming. You have to get all the materials. I have a pile of packing materials over there. Maybe I'll show you at the end of the video that I have to get. And then you have to, you know, there's the communication with the potential owners. You have to, you know, check the temperatures before you ship. You have to check the temperature of your place. You have to check the temperature of the post office, the airport that the fish are going to be going in, the temperature of the location that they will be received in, to figure out what temperature they're going to be in, and you have to kind of coordinate with people. And then you have to, you know, personally, when I sell my fish, I keep in touch with whoever I sell the fish and I want to hear from that person to know that the fish got okay and get an update on the fish, because I want to make sure that the fish, you know, got there safely, that the fish is doing well. And, you know, if you have like 200 fish from a spawn, that's going to become very difficult to maintain and, you know, talk to everyone. And that's something you have to think about as a breeder. And that's one of the reasons why, instead of just already starting on the next spawn, which I could have done, I could have already spawned. I have 2 pairs of fish that are just ready to go. But the reason I'm waiting and I actually want to hold off is I want to take a break after I sell these fish and like really, as a whole, look at everything and evaluate and see what can I improve on, what can I do better, and how can I prepare myself. Because realistically, I think I prepared myself pretty well. I researched a lot. I joined the International Betta Congress, which, you know, became a source of all this information. I joined the Bettas for All forum, where there's a ton of more information. I friended and started talking to a lot of breeders. I started following a lot of breeders on YouTube. I actually encouraged more breeders to start making videos on YouTube, so there's more resources. And still, with all that, I feel like if I had a bigger spawn, I don't know if I would be able to handle it, because I am running out of room right now to store all my bettas. And to, you know, make more room, I will have to sell a few to my local pet store. I'm going to sell a few of the metallics, and if it wasn't for that, I would be in trouble. And that's, you know, that's the reality of betta breeding. You have to be prepared. You have to have a system. You have to have the money. You have to have something to make things more efficient. So in the future, I have to figure out some sort of drip system or an automatic water change system or something with a lot of jars that I can maintain multiple fish at once to save time and be able to take care of everyone and become more efficient, because that's the downside of betta breeding versus breeding other fish, is you don't have the luxury of just growing out your fry in just one tank until they're ready to be sold. You do have to separate and figure things out, and it does make things a lot more difficult. So that's kind of the little rant and the little kind of topic I wanted to discuss today. This wasn't really planned. I kind of decided that I wanted to talk to you guys and just kind of mention things off the top of my head as I think about them. But I know a lot of you guys have been contacting me and reaching out and telling me you want to get into betta breeding or you're considering it. I hope that me addressing these kind of topics will help you make a better decision that will be best for you, and of course with the best welfare and the well-being of the fish involved. And well, it'll be a better decision because you can kind of use my experiences and you know what I went through to kind of figure out, is this the right thing for you? Are you ready to handle it? You know, you'll never know 100% if you're ready. I was not 100% ready. I was like 70-80% ready, and then I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta just try it. Gotta go for it. So at a certain point, you do have to, you know, make that decision if you're just gonna do it or not. But I really hope that starting to talk about these topics helps out. I am going to go into depth throughout my whole experiences, so we can kind of dissect and go through the entire betta breeding experience and kind of pick what I've done wrong, what I could improve on, how I feel about things, so that, you know, you guys can benefit from this. And I like doing this too, because talking about this and looking back and reflecting on this is helping me kind of plan for the future and kind of figure out what I want to do, and kind of helps me learn from my experience as well, which is kind of really cool and it's really exciting. If you have any particular topics that you would like for me to address in future videos where I do look back on breeding, I definitely leave them in the comments down below. I am considering definitely making a video where I talk about the different breeding materials and what you'll need to get. I definitely need to make a video in the future about shipping materials and probably what you get. Those should be like 2 different videos on their own. And there's definitely a whole lot of topics I can cover, because there's a lot when it comes to betta breeding. When you look online, there's not that much information, but when you start talking to other breeders, you unlock like a whole new world, because betta breeders are so knowledgeable. And now I'm starting to get some of that information, and hopefully as I get that information, I will pass it down to you and we will share all the awesomeness. And yeah, it's really cool. Betta breeding is really awesome. It's really rewarding. It's really educational. It's changed the way I look at betta care as a whole. It's kind of cool. And I'm just really, really fortunate and happy to be able to share all of this with you guys. So I hope that you enjoyed this video where I kind of just sit here and talk to you about my experiences. I will try to make a couple more of these. This Friday will be a normal Fish Fan Friday where we'll give you updates on my fish, as well as I already have 2 new fish on the store. I do need to take more photos, so I will make more fish available to be sold. Of course, as always, I will be posting my fish on Patreon first, so my Betta Body Patreon supporters will be able to purchase a fish if they would like ahead of everyone else for the support, in return for the support that I am getting. Also, I would like to announce that I am almost at my first Patreon goal that I have set, and I am really, really fortunate and thankful. It is really helping my channel a lot, and I have a lot of plans for the future and goals and dreams, and I feel like they're that much closer within reach because of the support and help that I am getting from you guys, and I'm really, really thankful and appreciative of you guys. Thank you so much. And of course, I appreciate everyone else that is subscribing and commenting and sharing my videos and liking my videos. Honestly, I would not be anything without all of you guys. You guys are the reason creative pet keeping is a thing, and we're here and we're doing really awesome and great things, and hopefully helping the fish keeping hobby and pet care hobby as a whole. So I'm gonna stop talking now and going to go and upload this video for you guys so you guys can enjoy it. I hope that you have a good day. Oh, one more thing. I'm super excited. I got my first piece of mail. Today I checked my P.O. box. By the way, for those of you that don't know, I've made an announcement already, but I do have a P.O. box, so you guys can send me things now. And I got my first piece of mail, and on Fish Fan Friday, at the end, I'm going to do my first ever letter opening, so I'm super happy. Super excited. I've never gotten fan mail before, so that's so cool, guys. Thank you. So yeah, that's kind of it. I'm going to go now before I start talking again, because I am an endless chatterbox of chatter. So I will see you guys on Friday. Bye.